Hello and welcome to Reporters, our look at the very best of France 24 from all around the world. Now, it was the story that caught the attention of the entire world. 33 miners trapped in a mine for 69 days, half a mile under the Chilean desert, and whose rescue became a global TV event for an audience of an estimated 1 billion people. The men knew the dangers of the San Jose mine. It produced the usual mix of copper, gold and other minerals that makes the rock under the desert in northern Chile among the most valuable in the world. In fact, they were paid a premium to work in the 100-year-old mine. What they could not have expected or been prepared for were the dangers of the media circus that their story would become. 1 year on, Sébastien Renouille went in search of the men who've been rebuilding their lives away from the cameras ever since.
To reach Chile's San Jose mine, you leave the city of Copiapó and head deep into the Atacama Desert. Claudio knows the road well. He used it to get to work in the mine.
There is some here, and over there too. There's some copper and a little bit of gold. It generates a lot of money. That's why Chile is so rich.
Beyond the dunes is one of the largest copper reserves in the world. It's Chile's main source of exports, almost a third of the global market. Chileans call this the flowery desert, but as the road sweeps on, the scenery changes. It's taken an hour and a half to reach the mine.
Since it's closed, we're going to park over there. And here is the famous San Jose mine.
It's been a year since the 33 Chilean miners who were trapped underground for 69 days were saved thanks to a massive rescue effort. Claudio Yanes has returned to the site for the first time since his ordeal. The company in charge of the mine has only narrowly avoided bankruptcy. It mothballed its operations here shortly after the accident. Now there are just 2 guards left to watch over the abandoned site.
Over there was the banner with all the families. And that's where they had a barbecue.
One of the guards recognizes Claudio. A visit from one of the miners now is quite a rarity.
If you want to enter over there, it's possible. No problem at all.
The mine's access point is still there, but it's been deemed too dangerous to use and has since been sealed off.
Oh, it was terrible. Bad memories. When we were in there, we had nothing to eat. And we couldn't get out.
Little remains on the surface now as a reminder of the 2,000 journalists watching and waiting for the miners' rescue.
There were all these people all around, the press and television reporters, who were all asking so many things, as if we were savages. We felt persecuted. And it was hard to be there with these journalists. They really bothered us.
34 years old, Claudio was a drill operator. Psychologists have monitored his progress since leaving the mine, but he's still in a delicate state of mind. He stands on the empty plot of land, seemingly overwhelmed by his memories.
Come and see. This is where we all came out, thanks to the capsule.
The memory of escaping from 700 meters down seems fresh in his mind. On the weekend of September the 18th, Copiapó and its 130,000 inhabitants were gearing up to celebrate Chile's independence with 4 days of festivities. Life in the city is calm, and there are few signs of the incident that drew the world's attention here a year ago. Atacama reporter Pamela Vázquez is at the Copiapó Fair's one stand dedicated to the miners. She can't seem to let the story go. She's produced hundreds of reports on the 33 men since the accident. The miners' wives are running the stall. It's not well paid. There's a low turnout from the survivors themselves. Most prefer to stay at home. Their eyes seem vacant, and few wanted to speak on camera. Despite their weariness and depression, they can at least count on some people turning up to help.
We support them. We know that behind the 33 miners there are families, children and grandchildren. We know that helps them.
Donations like the €8,000 pledged to each of the miners by Chilean billionaire Leonardo Farkas have already been spent. Last year's euphoria is long gone.
Many of these miners are now unemployed. Many have still not fully recovered from the aftermath of the ordeal. The inhabitants of Copiapó are a bit jaded by it all.
Claudio lives on the outskirts of town, in a neighborhood home to many other miners. His home is a shrine to his experience.
Here's the paper we sent when the probe reached us. It was Ojeda, our leader, who wrote that. I also have this helmet. It's the one I was wearing when I was down there.
The house was a wedding gift from the eccentric billionaire. Claudio has little to do but spend his days here with his memories or watch TV. He's had no success in finding work since he left the mine.
Some people say, no, we're not going to employ them. They say, if we do, they'll be haunted by their bad memories. It's a burden to them.
The miners were meant to be compensated after their rescue and a redeployment unit established. Claudio's wife, Cristina, is disillusioned.
They have offered us a lot of help, but we've seen nothing. Yes, of course, they've given compensation to 11 or 12 miners, but there are 33 who suffered together. Why haven't they given anything to us? For example, Goldborn, the Minister of Mines. It served him well because no one knew him before all of this.
Some even believe that the Piñera government, low in the opinion polls at the time, and the former Minister of Mines, Lawrence Goldborn, orchestrated a publicity campaign around the incident to enhance their images.
No, yo creo que eso es absurdo plantearlo así.
I think it's absurd. I think all the media who were there know the government didn't force anyone to talk about it. It's true that there was global pressure that no one could have imagined. The event was broadcast around the world, and there was a lot of expectation. To be honest, I don't think these comments have anything positive to offer.
Since his rescue, another miner, Mario Sepulveda's, found a taste for the limelight and numerous press conferences. France 24 decided to contact him. Hello, we're calling from France 24 and we'd like to interview Mario Sepulveda, please.
I am his wife, but I am also his representative. We charge $3,500.
And that's for how long?
For 1 hour.
We didn't do the interview.
Not all the 33 miners are in the same situation. There are 33 people with different lives, different tools and different strengths. We're not all equal in hard times.
Roberto Iturra is the miner's psychologist. He says media exposure since leaving San Jose has gone to their heads.
It's this false hope of gaining a great deal of money that has placed them in a world of illusions, which they're not able to cope with. I think it's what has affected most the miner's mental condition. When you replace reality with illusion, you completely lose yourself.
In Copiapó, graffiti in the miner's honor evokes indifference. The 33 vowed they'd stick together. But today, some are still taking sedatives and remain isolated, like Jimmy, the youngest of the group, aged 19 at the time. He's spoken with a stutter since the incident.
We're not on bad terms, but we don't see each other. It's difficult for me. It's very difficult. Lately, although I still have my fair share of problems, I'm sleeping a little better. Well, I still go to see a psychologist, but it's very difficult for me. I feel that I've changed too much.
Jimmy holds on to souvenirs he brought back from around the world during visits with his fellow workers. He finds them reassuring.
And so a medal proves that I'm still fighting today.
Too young to receive a pension, Jimmy can do little more than stay at home. Night falls on Copiapo. Back at the fair, festivities are ongoing. There are still only a few people at the miners' stand, but they seem ready to talk a little more.
Many are corrupted here, and they earn millions and millions. Here they play the innocent. What are they doing, these people? They are supposed to be inspecting all of the mines. You know, in every city there are delinquents, and for just a few pesos more, they don't care about people's lives. They don't care that people die.
Families' complaints that the state still hasn't learned its lesson have been constant since the San Jose accident. They say it was caused by a lack of safety measures, and in July they filed a complaint against the mining company and the Chilean state for negligence. Their lawyer is famous for defending workers' rights. He's demanding a $1 million compensation package for each miner.
They say we've lost a lot. Our co-workers were above ground, but we were down there for 2 months, not knowing if we'd live or die. Our children were at the camp. Beyond what was shown on television and by the media, beyond the fact that some may or may not have taken advantage of the situation in terms of ratings, there's a loss, and that loss must be compensated.
Since the accident, Chile's mining companies have promised to implement greater safety measures. But the copper rush is sometimes too much to resist. A rise in copper prices in recent months has sparked a boom in small mines out of the state's control. 50 kilometers from Copiapo, Pablo Rojas, one of the 33 miners, has gone back on the job.
You see here, this machine is out of order. It's been a week now, and we need it to do our work. That's the ore we're extracting. It's not about being stronger than the others. I love this job. I love the mine. It's my passion. Now, I know some of the situations of the others are really hard, but I'm sure that in the end, some will return to the mine. I have it in my blood. My father was a miner, my great-grandfather was a miner. I'm happy to go down into the mine.
There's no health insurance, no retirement fund, just a dream of wealth. According to Chile's Geology and Mine Service, there have been nearly 400 deaths in the nation's mines over the past 10 years.
Well, I'm joined here in the studio now by Sébastien Renouil for more on that report. Now, what we see in it is that the miners are all dealing with it in very different ways. But there is something here, there is a real trauma that they're all trying to deal with.
Well, we're talking about 33 people who are completely different. All of them experienced something very traumatic, 700 meters underground with very high humidity, 90%, 40 degrees centigrade. I mean, they're all out of the mine, but none of them has really managed to reduce his life. I mean, they have psychological problems, they have difficulty sleeping, they're all taking tranquilizers. There are some who are managing to deal with it better than others. Some of them are even managing to sell their experience. I mean, we see someone in the film who asked for a lot of money to be interviewed. Others have chosen to go back to work. I mean, mining is very hard work, but some have gone back. The one whom we see in the makeshift mine, there's a lot of them in Chile, and with the cost of copper going up, it's something that can make a lot of money, so they're hoping to get rich.
Of course, there are two traumas that they're living through. There is the trauma of having been trapped in the mine, as you describe, all that they lived through during those days that the rest of the world followed, of course, on camera. But then there is also the media circus that it became. How can these 33 miners who knew nothing of global media, who knew nothing of media attention, get back to a life as ordinary as it had been before, even leaving aside the trauma of 33 days passed in the mine themselves?
In order to understand that, I think you have to go back to the moment a year ago when the 33 miners who had been 700 meters underground, and in the first few days when they were trapped, they didn't know anything. But then there was this moment when the people looking for them decided to send a microscopic camera down into the mine to see how they would react, and that changed everything, including what is happening today, because at that time the 33 miners suddenly discovered that the whole world was looking at them. On ground, there were 2,000 journalists. That's a huge number, even though accidents of this kind occur very frequently in Chile because safety in the mines is not very well managed. So as of that moment, they became aware of the significance, the importance of the mine. Some of them managed to control those communications, others not. So it all changed for them. And the situation today of the 33 miners can perhaps be compared to heroes of reality shows who are being filmed for a month or two, hoping to become famous in a somewhat artificial way, but once they're out of it, they find themselves with absolutely nothing in hand. I mean, in France, there was the hero of a reality television show who committed suicide. So the drama of those miners, I think, is comparable.
Sébastien Renouil, thanks ever so much for having been with us today. Thank you also for the report. That brings us to the end of this edition of Reporters. We'll be back next week for another, though. Do stay with us here on France 24.